David, introduction.
Yes, just one moment, please. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I hope you've enjoyed your afternoon tea. We're now going to have a presentation from Ms. Nguyet on domestic workers in Vietnam. Put your hands together.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Nguyet, as David introduced me. And today I'm presenting and would like to share with you about things, very brief things related to the domestic workers in Vietnam. Firstly, may I ask you one question? How many of you have domestic workers or somebody support you in working housework? Please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8, 12, 14.
Excuse me, can I count myself because I'm also domestic worker?
Yeah. That's great. That's great. Yeah. That's a interesting number. And I think that's a good opportunity for all of us to share something that you also have with the domestic workers in your life. I want to make my presentation focus on some content. Firstly, I want to give an overview about domestic workers in Vietnam, their contribution to their household income, and the difficulties of domestic workers in working and living. Firstly, we should have a brief introduction about who domestic workers are. Most domestic workers are women, and many of them are migrants. They move from different provinces and ethnic minority to come to the big cities for working as domestic workers. And can you guess how many percent of domestic workers are women? Can you?
90.
90?
95.
95?
99.
16? 99? Yeah. You are the winner.
Oh, no.
98.6% of domestic workers are women. Yeah. And the education of those people are very low. Many of them are illiterate, and they also didn't participate in the vocational training for their work, for preparing their professional work as a domestic workers. Can I ask you one more question? What kinds of tasks your domestic workers are working in your home? Housework, cleaning, cooking, washing,
Ironing.
gardening. How about caring baby and the elder people? Yeah. That's all the task one domestic worker usually do when they work in this field. And you can see the working time of those people are usually over 8 hours per day. 8 hours per day. And even many of them working more than 10 hours per day, and all day and night. Yeah, you can see this number. This number I deducted from one research from IFGS and Morisa that conducted in 2011 and 2014. 61.1% working more than 8 hours per day, 35% working more than 10 hours per day, and 22.6% working days and nights. And you can see the working conditions of them are very hard. But why? They work very hard, but why many of them still want to work as a domestic worker? And there are some reasons here. The domestic work provides stable employment and opportunity. That is opportunity for many women to earn and increase their income. That's a proportion for the income of their household. And earning from domestic work are higher than other manual jobs. Even somebody make comparison to the new graduate from university, because the graduate student can earn 2 million Vietnam đồng per month, but with this kind of job you can earn 2 or 3 or even more money for that. And domestic work also give employing household member more time to do head work. I want to explain more about it. Because many of you have a house worker, and they really support you to do something, and you spend time that you the time house worker help you to do something to earn money. So this gives employing household members more time to do the head work. You can see the domestic workers' income. It increased simply from 2008 to 2014 from nearly 3 times after 6 years. I pick from this slide. And you also see the proportion of domestic workers weighs in household income. Yeah, their contribution to the household income. 49.6% of them have over 50% of household workers, domestic workers, can provide more than 49% of household income. However, we also have to consider the difficulties of the domestic workers. Yeah, you can see very quickly they are injured from victims like sexual abuse, and even their private documents like ID or even money, the wage are kept by the household who employ them. And in general, we can see many of them have, very few of them join the system of social security and health insurance. And yeah, you can see only 3% of them pay money by themselves to buy health insurance, and 12.5% are paid by the employers, even previous employers or current employers. The domestic workers is not identified as an occupation in the national job list, and they also lack information and lack support, legal support and protection as another people think in another kind of jobs. Yes, you also see they, because due to this situation, the domestic workers face many risks. when they get sick or they have an accident and they cannot work anymore, they have no insurance for their future, no money, no health insurance, and they also have to pay a big amount of money for get over their situation. And the issues here, if it's necessary for recognize the domestic workers as an occupation that's identified by the government of Vietnam, to ensure that their rights in all aspects, from the making contract, by the legal support, and even the have access to the social system in Vietnam government. And you can see, you can find further information about the resources. I also list here, and you can see more. Yep, thank you for your attention.
Don't go away. Any questions?
Oh, sorry.
Any questions?
So stressful.
Yes?
Please? No, sorry.
I have a question. I know there are some organisations that actually provide domestic workers to households, and they train those people. They look after their health insurance, and they provide them with support once they go to work for a household. Is that sort of service developing more in Vietnam, or is it something that's not commonly used as far as you know?
Thank you. Thank you for your interest. Before answering your questions, may I ask another audience that about the house workers? When you hire them, do you have to through a company or any organization, or just direct contact? Direct contact. And other? Direct? Yeah. And we usually, in fact, we have no many research related to the domestic workers and their contribution to the value economies of Vietnam. But this is an informal sector, and you can see that it's not in the list of occupations of Vietnam. So any organization or companies may need these domestic workers just only to gather and collect them, and they act the middle organization, yeah, the one to deal or to work directly with the household, employing the household worker. They have no rights, and they are not responsible for health insurance or social insurance for these people. Yeah.
One more question? Yes.
Okay, I have one domestic worker in my family, and then I haven't signed the contract with her, so I violate is that illegal or is acceptable?
Yes, thank you very much for the questions. That's a common issues in Vietnam now. Not many household employing domestic workers have contract with the employers, with the employees. And you know, in fact, our government, in the labor code, also have some article related to the working conditions of the domestic workers, like contract, working, how the time for working, but that's still on the table, and not many people pay attention about that. In case if you have something related to the legally business or conflict with the domestic workers. At the time, you also have to face with the the things by the court or in fact that's illegal. Yeah.
Yes.
That's a confusion. Sorry, that's a confusion and the controversial issues. Many people think that that's illegal, and many people think that because that was defined in the labor code, but the other side thinks that that's a deal between private and so between person to person. So there's no regulation to that, and yeah, that's controversial issues.
One more question.
I think I feel confused after your presentation and your answering the question on the